Budget traveling in Europe is becoming harder and harder to pull off. A few years ago, you could easily book a cheap trip to some cool place in Europe without having to take out a loan. It was awesome. But it's quickly becoming a thing of the past. Right now, a lot of things are happening at the same time, and it's all impacting budget traveling negatively. What is it exactly? Let's find out. The first thing we need to talk about is the death of budget accommodation. A few years back, you could always find some cheap Airbnb or a shared apartment in a European capital for 30 to 40 euros a night. It was sweet, but many cities are now trying to kill these listings. Why would they do that, you might ask? Well, it's because local rents are too damn high. This is true across capitals all over Europe. So many people are renting out their places to tourists, short-term, instead of offering them to long-term tenants, which is strangling the supply, which in turn keeps rents high. If you look at Paris, for instance, rents are up 42% since 2009, and the city blames Airbnb for occupying 20,000 homes. People are seriously done with it. One of the most famous illustrations of this is when, in the summer of 2024, locals in Barcelona marched through the city center chanting, "Tourists go home." Some carried water pistols and sprayed them at tourists sitting at outdoor cafes. Photos of it went viral. So, many cities all over Europe are cracking down hard on short-term rentals. Restrictions or straight-up bans on Airbnb are popping up all over the place. The stated goal is to make space for long-term rentals instead. In Amsterdam, a city that has put serious measures in place, Airbnb listings have dropped 54%. Booking a short-term stay there is not worth even trying. The only places left are pricier, further from the center, or booked out months ahead. In Berlin, another city that has tried to tackle this, over 8,000 apartments have been removed from the short-term market. Then there's Barcelona. It's perhaps the place in Europe where hate towards over-tourism has grown the strongest. It's the most extreme example of this whole issue. To get rid of Airbnb, Barcelona decided to ban them altogether. All 10,000 licenses currently active will be gone by 2028. A bunch of landlords took it to court and lost. Spain's constitutional court backed the ban. This is why budget accommodation is dying. Let's not kid around. Over-tourism is a real issue, and locals should always be prioritized. Whether this is the right method, someone else can be the judge of. But there's no denying that for you as a traveler, this means there are fewer cheap accommodations available. And with every cheap room that disappears, there's one less competitor keeping hotel prices down. In cities cracking down on Airbnb, hotel prices are climbing almost 5% faster than everywhere else. So, what about hostels? Surely they're still cheap? Nope. Hostel prices are increasing. Heck, there's less competition. Why wouldn't they raise prices? In Amsterdam, hostel prices there are up 65% since 2023 alone. And in Paris, a new wave of premium hostels has shown up. Rooftop bars, curated common rooms, all those things. And they now average 180 euros a night. That's the same price as a 3-star hotel room. Now, technically, 30 euro dorm beds still exist here and there. You can still find one if you dig, but they're getting fewer, and with less competition, there's less reason to keep them at 30 euros. Your bill might no longer come out at 30 euros, partly because they're restricting Airbnbs, but also because of increased tourist taxes. Yes, tourist taxes are spreading like wildfire through European cities. Essentially, a tourist tax is a fee added to your accommodation bill for every night you stay, on top of the room rate. It's been a thing for decades, but in recent years, it's been expanding and increasing. This is another one of the policies that is actively trying to target over-tourism. In 2024, Barcelona's mayor decided to double the nightly tourist tax, and it's set to keep climbing every year until 2029. A couple staying 3 nights in the Catalonian capital will be paying 66 euros in tax alone. That's not even including the hotel bill. And by the way, that tax is flat. Someone in a 400 euro a night suite pays the exact same nightly fee as someone in a 30 euro hostel bunk, which might sound a little unfair. And if you look out across Europe, similar things are popping up. In Amsterdam, your combined tourist tax and VAT hike now makes up about 1/3 of your hotel bill. Venice took it even further. If you're visiting for the day with no overnight stay, you now have to book a slot in advance and pay 5 to 10 euros just to walk into the historic center. If you show up without a booking, you're risking a fine up to 300 euros. So short-term rentals have been given a death sentence, and a hefty tax has been added to your bill in many places. I guess the question now is it working? The answer to that question has little room for nuance. No. The answer is no, it's not working. In 2025, Spain had a record number of visitors. Just short of 100 million people showed up. And that's right in the middle of all these tax hikes and Airbnb bans. If the goal was fewer tourists, someone forgot to tell the tourists. Barcelona saw its overnight visitor numbers drop by 100,000. out of 15.5 million. That's hardly anything. European air travel as a whole is still setting records in 2026, so people aren't staying away. If anything, it's the opposite. Young Europeans, specifically, are traveling more this year, not less. Travel intentions for summer 2026 are up 10% compared to last year, the highest it's been since 2020. And the growth isn't spread evenly. It's up 21% among 18 to 24-year-olds and 16% among 25 to 34-year-olds. The exact group getting hit hardest by all this is the exact group showing up in bigger numbers. What's actually changing is how people travel. Trips are getting shorter. 4 to 6 nights is now the most common length, replacing the week-plus trips people used to take. A trip used to mean picking one city and actually living in it for a while. Now it means landing, sprinting through the 5 must-see spots, and getting back on a plane before it's had time to refuel. Basically, less time in each place. So clearly people are still traveling, in record numbers even. So these measures didn't do anything to curb actual traveling. That's not the moral of this story. What it did was to kill budget traveling. The 30 € Airbnb is gone. The 30 € hostel bed is a needle in a haystack. The tax gets added no matter what you're paying for the room. Europe's cities are still as crowded. It's just that hotels and local governments are pocketing more money than before. Let's be clear about something before we wrap this up. Overtourism is real, and I'm not here to tell you the people protesting in Barcelona are wrong. If tourists are pricing you out of your own neighborhood, you have every right to be furious. I fully support locals pushing back. And honestly, on a personal level, I don't really understand why overtourism is even a thing. Before you throw me to the wolves, let me explain. To me, there's nothing that makes me less excited to travel somewhere than knowing it'll be crowded by tourists. Europe has an insane amount of culture and local experiences to be seen. I've done a road trip through Slovenia, for instance. I sat down at cafes in small, rural towns and truly experienced the culture there. There was no one out protesting tourists that day. The Balkans is another fascinating place to visit. Balkan hospitality is something you just don't find in other places. Serbia, Bosnia, or Montenegro are all amazing places to see. The food there is out of this world. So, there's not a lack of wonderful things to experience in Europe. In fact, the things truly worth experiencing are not found at the top of any TripAdvisor lists. If a billion people are going to a certain location and there's hardly any locals to be spotted, then why are you even there? What's so nice about it? Regardless of that, there's something else that needs to be said. Some tourists do behave like assholes. In popular spots, there's always reports of tourists trashing beaches, ignoring local customs, or just treating a city like a theme park instead of a place people live. That behavior earns the resentment it gets. Overtourism is still a real problem. Traveling is still a thing. European budget traveling, however, is on its deathbed. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.